With the new year upon us, I'm sure many of you, like me, have been thinking a lot about self-discipline and goal setting, and I want to approach this topic in an honest, rooted in reality sort of way, rather than a grind yourself into the ground sort of way. My name's Dana Atwood, and I'm a board certified hypnotist from Portland, Oregon. So most of the people I work with are not lazy. They're thoughtful, self-aware, and genuinely trying to grow. And yet they keep asking themselves questions like, how do I know if I'm making excuses or if I actually need rest? How do I know if I'm pushing myself to my full potential or just overworking myself? So if you've ever been stuck in that loop, I want you to hear this really clearly. This isn't a discipline problem. This is a discernment problem. Luckily, discernment, like any other skill, is something you can learn. We've been taught to treat productivity like a moral measurement. Rest equals weakness, discipline equals virtue, pushing equals success, stopping equals failure. But that framework breaks people. The truth is, some people overrest to avoid discomfort, and some people overwork to avoid feeling, well, sometimes they do it to avoid feeling anything. Both are coping strategies. So the real question isn't, am I being disciplined enough? The real question is, am I being honest with myself? Let's start with the difference between excuses and a real need for rest. So here's one of the most important questions you can ask yourself. What happens after I rest? Okay? Genuine rest, it kind of has a signature. When rest is real, your system softens, you feel clearer, more grounded, and even if motivation doesn't come flooding back, the resistance eases. So when rest is avoidance, on the other hand, you don't feel better afterward. You might feel heavier, foggier, and the task will feel bigger than before. That still doesn't make you lazy. It just means your nervous system found relief in escape rather than recovery. Escape delays discomfort, whereas recovery restores your capacity. Another key distinction is where the resistance, where is it coming from? Is it coming from the body, or is it coming from a story that you're telling yourself? Your body's going to speak to you in sensations: pain, fatigue, tightness. You might get sick, overwhelm, headaches, whereas the story speaks in narratives. I don't feel like it. I'll start later. I need to be in the right mood. Bodies ask for care, stories ask for comfort, and learning to tell the difference is a skill that will help you along this journey. An easy tool, we're going to call it the 10-minute test. Instead of deciding whether you should do something, commit to it for just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, if your focus improves or your body relaxes and you find yourself in flow state or, suddenly a little more motivated, then the resistance was mental. If your body tightens, drains, or feels worse, then rest was genuinely needed. And look, there's no shame in either response. It's just information. So let's talk about pushing yourself versus overworking yourself. The distinction is especially tricky for high capacity people, but here's the core difference. Healthy pushing feels like expansion. Overworking feels like a constant self-override. Healthy pushing includes discomfort, yes, but not panic. It feels focused and intentional. And while, yes, it can leave you tired, it is work, you also feel satisfied. You can still feel your body while doing it. Whereas overworking, you feel numb, frantic, resentful. It disconnects you from your body, and it's driven by I should instead of I choose. Overworking often comes with emotional flatness or irritability. That's how I usually know. Whereas growth includes challenge. Overwork might include self-abandonment. We don't want that. So why do you really need to carefully check in with yourself? Because overworking often looks productive, but it quietly erodes trust with yourself. Another important check is motivation. Ask yourself, what is driving this push? Aligned motivation sounds like, this matters to me. This supports who I'm becoming. This is meaningful, even if it's hard. Fear-based motivation sounds like, if I stop, I'll fall behind. I should be able to handle this. I need to prove something. Fear can absolutely fuel action, but it always sends the bill later. So finally ask, could I maintain this pace for 3 weeks without resentment? If the answer is no, you're borrowing energy from the future, and future you always pays. I do not recommend regular forcing. I do not recommend shame or overriding your body's request for rest. I want you to build self-trust. I want you to challenge with care. I want you to rest with intention. Move forward without self-betrayal. This isn't a question of what's easy, it's just a question of what's wise. So, a simple way to bring it all together. When your body is loud, meaning your body is communicating clearly and persistently, rest. Pain, illness, deep fatigue, a bunch of headaches, disrupted sleep, tension that doesn't ease when you slow down, rest. This isn't subtle resistance, it's a signal asking to be listened to. Rest when your nervous system is dysregulated. If you feel panicky, shut down, numb, unable to focus, rest here isn't avoidance, it's stabilization. Rest should actually restore capacity. So after resting, even if you're not totally energized, you feel clearer, calmer, more available. That's what you're looking for. The system recalibrates instead of spiraling. So when should you push instead of rest? I want you to push when resistance is vague, when there's no clear physical reason not to begin, just a hesitation or procrastination. And once you start, momentum usually builds. I want you to push when you notice you feel better once you begin. If your breathing deepens, focus improves, anxiety settles after starting, that's a sign the resistance wasn't a true limit. Push when the action aligns with your values. You're moving towards something meaningful, not proving worth or avoiding guilt. Maybe you feel a strong calling to the task or cause that you're working on. I want you to stop when you're sacrificing health, relationships, or joy. I want you to stop when progress comes at the cost of sleep, connection, or your emotional well-being. Productivity is not proof of worth. I hope you find yourself doing things because they matter, not because you feel like it's a requirement to feel acceptable or safe. I want you to feel connected to yourself. If you can't feel your body, your emotions, or your inner yes or no, that numb momentum is a signal to pause and at least check in with yourself. Your full potential is not unlocked by constant discipline. It's unlocked by a relationship with yourself that's honest, responsive, and brave. Don't abandon yourself. Know when to lean in and when to soften. Learning how to meet your potential without losing yourself in the process might take some practice, and that's okay. Just keep pausing, reflecting, and reevaluating the situation. I hope that helps. If you'd like to schedule a consultation with me, visit outwardhypnosis.com, and remember, you are enough right now, just the way you are, no matter what goals you achieve or don't achieve, or what you do for New Year's Eve, you are enough. I promise.